Hey, we're back with Ben Dunn again, our first repeat offender. He is so ashamed that he will not show his face, but we're going to talk to him anyways.
Ben is famous for starting the Antarctic Press and for creating Warrior Nun, which, as you know, is now a series on Netflix. And Ben was born in Taiwan. He moved here. He's a prolific comic book creator, and he's one of the busiest guys we know in comics. In fact, I'm going to say, Ben, what are you working on now?
And take yourself off mute.
Ben.
Well,
almost.
I just did. It's like you're on.
All right. Okay. Well, what I'm working on right now is Ninja High School. I'm working on the latest issue. I also got a Kickstarter going with Tomorrow Girl. So those are the two things I'm busy on right now.
What's Tomorrow Girl?
Tomorrow Girl she's a character that's sort of my version of Supergirl, except I created her as a throwback to the old Gold and Silver Age heroes. So wanted to do something that would harken back to those days, because those are the kind of comics I grew up in, and those are the kind of characters I'd like to create.
Who's the illustrator?
I do a lot of the stories, but I also hire other people who submit stories also. So it's more like an anthology of different creators. So I get a mix of different styles.
Yeah, he has it. I looked at it on Kickstarter yesterday, and he has a bunch of different artists and people involved with it this time. So, like he said, if you imagine Supergirl, imagine a Supergirl anthology with a lot of different artists and things involved.
Yeah, pretty much.
Would you characterize it as manga?
It can be manga. I don't like to limit the creative team as far as how they want to interpret the character. I figure as long as they maintain the spirit of the character, they can pretty much do whatever they want. As long as it's for all ages and as long as it's a fun story.
How do you account for the popularity of manga right now in the U.S. market?
Oh, well, gosh, I've always been a big fan of manga. I've been pushing it since like the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. And I'm really surprised that it's taken off as much as it has. It could be that it's something different, and maybe it's the stories are more engaging, and you don't have to be a burden with 30, 40, 50 years of backstory to get into the character. If I knew the secret, I certainly would be implementing it now. But or it could be just there's a lot of variety available. You're not just stuck with superheroes. You can have manga of all types of subject matter. Catering to all sorts of characters.
I will say that from the biggest fans of manga that I know of, there's a wide age range, but a lot of them are really into the culture too, and they like learning some of the languages and the foods and different things. It's like I think the cultural side of it helps too.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there's an aspect of that. It's something exotic, it's something different, and the fact of the matter is, manga artists. They work their butts off to get there.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that they know their audience and they cater to that. And it just happens that the stories they tell seem to resonate with American audiences.
I think that you've hit on something there, which is that they know their audience and cater to it, which means that they're trying to entertain, that they understand that their first job is to entertain. And when you contrast that with the material from the big two lately, especially DC, they don't seem to have any interest in entertaining their readers, and that's why they're losing market share.
Yeah, it's I don't know what is the reasoning behind that thought process. It could be any number of things. The fact of the matter is that the big two, they have deep pockets. I don't know how long they'll go in the direction they are going and still be able to maintain a profit, make money on their ventures. I mean, in the end, their businesses, they have to make money. If they don't make
Yeah.
money, then they're going to go out of business. It's just a simple fact.
Well, many creators for the big two have been complaining lately that they're not getting paid, that the payment is extremely late, and they wonder what's going on.
That's a bad sign. I mean,
Yeah.
whenever that is a very bad sign. Whenever you're in a situation where you're either delaying payment or not paying altogether, that is a storm warning. That's that should tell people, hey, something very, very wrong is coming down the pike, and this is just a warning, and people need to be prepared when the storm comes.
Ben, are there any Marvel or DC comics that you follow these days?
Oh gosh, I haven't read a Marvel or DC book in literally like 20 years. I
Me
mean,
either.
I only collect silver and Bronze Age books. That's really the only thing I collect, and read. That's the only thing I collect and read because, those were. I mean, they were silly, but they were fun. They were fun books, and they were intended for a certain audience. And I just happened, and also I just think the art and stories were better. They were just more entertaining.
Tell us about your creative process. Tell us about when you create a new character or a story, how you go about it. Does it start with a drawing or does it start with words?
Um, for me, it just comes with an idea. I think of something that I thought might make an interesting story. I try to play up on what I know. I play up on experiences that I had. And I play up on things that are in the news or people are talking about, and try to work them into a decent story. For me, I like to do episodic stories, over a long period of time. I'm not I'm not one of the I'm not a graphic novel sort of guy where I just have one story and that's it. I like to keep things going.
Well, I think that every serious writer understands that you've got to keep those stories coming like a bricklayer. You lay down one brick,
Yep.
you lay down the next brick. And when they say, well, do you ever have writer's block? 90% of professional writers I know just laugh at that idea.
Yeah.
Because it's our job to keep the stories coming. And I tell this to everybody I know who wants to get into writing, whether it's comics or novels, whatever, just carry a tablet with you at all times and a pen and write down whatever strikes your fancy, be it a name you've never heard before, turn of phrase, or an idea, just so you won't forget it. And you have that on a record. And then you look back at that sometime and you'll see something that will spark creative energy. And you never know when a story is going to leap from something as simple as a word or a phrase.
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, the thing about if you want to stay in the business, you got to keep producing. That's really the fact of the matter is, when you stop producing, then if you stop working, then you might as well just be doing something else.
Do you write every day?
No, I don't write every day. I mean, frankly, to be honest, I'm never considered myself that great a writer. I like working with other writers. Back when I was much younger, the stories would come out, like a sieve. They just come out. But now, as I've gotten older, it's like, wow, writing has become sort of a chore for me because, it doesn't come out as doesn't come out in flows as it used to. So but I like that. I like talking with other writers. I have writers that I know, and I'll say this. I have an idea, and we'll brainstorm a session, and I'll get the writer to go ahead and bang out a script.
Uh-oh.
Sorry about that. My
Hey, no problem.
dogs. They hassled me relentlessly until I fed them. Now they've been fed and they're still hassling me.
Yeah.
They want some attention.
Ben has that same problem with penguins. Those penguins do that all the time.
Yes, they're relentless.
Ben, do you draw every day?
I try to draw every day. You know, if I try to make it a habit to draw at least something every day. I very rarely go on a day without at least doodling or sketching or doing a page or something. You know, because I figure that the only way you're ever going to improve, you know, or maintain a level of competency is that you got to keep at it.
Do you draw on a sketch pad?
I used to. I don't do as much anymore because I just go straight to doing a page. You know, when I was younger, again, you know, I used to sketch a lot. You know, sometimes I'll doodle ideas on a sketch pad that I have lying around, but for the most part, I try to get at least pages done. You know, because that's right now to me more of a priority.
Do you ink yourself?
Yes, I ink everything myself. I figure the
Before
more
you work on a story, do you write the script out?
I sometimes do. It depends on the story, but right now, I sort of have to balance being able to draw and being able to write because, for me personally, it takes me just as long to write a script as it is to draw a comic. You know, so I can either. I mean, I'm good at coming up with ideas. So what I do is I team up with another writer. You know, usually a local guy that I know, and I'll just say, "Here's my idea. Here's my plot. Do up a finished script." And then I'll hire him to do a finished script. You know, I'll pay him, and then once he sends in the script, then I can modify it any way I want. You know, I can make changes here, add panels there. You know, so it's a more efficient process for me.
That's
Will there be a third season of Warrior Nun?
Oh, I don't know if the powers to be. I have no control over that. I would like to see a third season. I mean, who knows? You know, in this day, I know the second season was the last season for Netflix, but
yeah.
that doesn't mean the end of a series. I mean, it could easily if Netflix no longer. I don't know what the contractual obligation is because I know sometimes Netflix will hold on to something even after they've canceled it. You know,
Yeah.
that they can hold on for a couple of years before they can shop it around. But my understanding is that the guy the showrunner can shop it around. I think that the Netflix let him go to do whatever he wanted. So it's possible it may show up on another platform, or it could be just 2 seasons. That's the end of it. You know, I'm, you know, I 2 seasons is not a lot, but you know what? There are not too many comic creators who can say they had
Right.
2 seasons of a show based on a comic they created.
Right.
Did they bring you on set while they were filming?
Yes, they did actually. On the contract that I have stipulates that I am allowed to be. I mean, they send me to from the first day of shooting on the last day of shooting
Oh, cool.
Where was that? Where were they filming?
in Spain.
Yeah.
Spain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's why I was going to ask about that. Do you have any idea? I know Netflix can be kind of tight with stuff, with like facts and figures, but do you have any idea how the show has done in Europe and other places?
I understand that it did very well overseas, internationally. I'm not privy to the actual numbers because, Netflix is very tight
Right.
fist
Yeah.
with numbers like that. But my understanding is that it was very popular. It has a very vocal
Yeah.
fan base, which I was really surprised by, But apparently the show has resonated with a lot of the fans, and they're fighting to get a third season out. I mean, it's been known. I mean,
Oh yeah.
Star Trek was saved with a letter writing campaign. I mean, any number of shows have come back to life even after it's been declared gone. So you never know. One of those things I try not to worry about is I don't worry about things I can't control. I only worry about things I can.
Yeah.
Well, Netflix has made no secret that they're in a period of contraction right now. Uh, and it's for a whole number of reasons. I'm sure that Warrior Nun is not one of them because they spent a lot of money on shows that nobody watched. And
Yeah.
that was not a show that nobody watched.
Well, that's one of those things. They made the decision, and they have to suffer the consequence of that decision. You know, I mean, it's a risk. Anytime, you know, in an entertainment industry, it's always a risk. It's a gamble. You know, I mean, I'm sure when George Lucas was doing Star Wars, the first one, you know, nobody knew it was going to be a hit. They thought it was all going to fail. You know, I mean, who was going to take that movie seriously? You know, so it's a risk. It's always a gamble. When you, the thing about comics though that I love is that it's a gamble, but it's the beauty of it is that anybody can do it. You know, anybody
Yes.
can do a comic. You're not limited by any. You know, you're not limited by any budget. You know, if it's your creation, you're not limited by any gatekeepers or interference from other parties. It's just
Well,
you and the piece of paper.
Well, it's where you want to put it out, Mike. You're limited by getting things to certain companies and things.
Yeah, well, when you're beholden to other people, yeah, you know, you have no control over that. That's unfortunate. The unfortunate part of dealing with other companies, you know.
Yeah.
you know that our latest book was kicked off Kickstarter because of a vicious hate campaign that was comprised totally of lies. When the Daily Cause launched a hate campaign against me, and the headline was Mike Baron launches another racist as fuck comic book. And we're now talking to a legal firm,
Yeah.
and it's likely that we're going to sue them.
Well, I mean,
I would.
I mean that is definitely not morally right. You know, they should not have to. Anybody who does that kind of stuff probably has a lack of ethics.
I would
Yeah.
say so. Anyhow, I throw that out there because even in the world of comics, you never know what's going to happen. And now the whole country has been split in two, unfortunately, with two mutually exclusive camps. However, they can't hurt us because my audience will have nothing to do with those people.
Oh, absolutely.
And in fact, the attack resulted in our campaign doing about 35% more business than it would have. It was after the news of the attack came out that the contributions really began to pour in.
Well, there you go. I mean, people know when they see an injustice. I mean, the fact of the matter is that I mean, look at um, the Rippaverse. You know, I mean, he
Yeah.
didn't rely on any crowdfunding platform. He just did it himself, and he scored $3 million. I mean, that is an enviable amount by any stretch of the imagination, and it shows that it can be done. You know,
And the key to Eric's success was that he already had a huge following before he
Yeah.
launched that. And so he had like a couple million fans of his YouTube. And that's how you do it. You know, I'm not
he built that.
psychologically
Yeah, he built that over
ready
years.
to go on the air every night like he did. But all these successful crowdfunders, the most successful crowdfunders, are live on YouTube at least once a week regularly, and they have huge followers.
Yeah, I mean, but they wouldn't have huge followers if they didn't say something that
Right.
resonated
Right,
with listeners. I mean,
right.
the thing is that you can say anything you want, but if you don't attract an audience, then it's just empty words. You know, so I mean, they resonated with people and with an audience, by what they were saying, and that's really what it comes down to is what you say.
It's true.
Yeah. And I did want to ask about is there anything you can share about? I know you've still been shopping Ninja High School around. Is there any news on that for a show or anything?
Well, there's one of those things is that you have it's just like combat. You have seconds of sheer terror and
Yeah.
then days and days of nothing, sheer boredom.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is in entertainment. You just have to wait. Things take time. Especially for a property like Ninja High School, where basically no one's ever really heard of it.
Yeah.
The guy who's my agent, he's doing the best he can to try to drum up interest in getting somebody to want to pick it up. I mean, it really
Yeah.
just comes down to somebody who's interested in it and who has the money. And
Yeah.
that's how it works in Hollywood.
Yep. Yep. The money is the is the big thing.
Yeah,
But
money, big thing.
yeah.
The theaters their revenue dropped 40% over the last 3 years for a whole number of reasons, not the least of which is the pandemic closing down theaters, but also because of the movies that they were offering, which most of them aren't very popular. And you look at the popular ones like Top Gun.
Yeah.
That was hugely popular. And Avatar is doing big business, I think, because it's visually stunning.
Right.
I haven't seen it. I saw Top Gun. It was a highly entertaining film.
Oh, yes. I loved it. Yeah. Well, the thing is that if you put out product that no one wants, the audience will tell you. You know, that's the thing is that it's like I said, it's a gamble. It's a crapshoot. You know, if you feel like you have a product that you think will be successful and it's not, then maybe that should teach you something. You should say, well, maybe what I did didn't resonate with an audience. Maybe I should do something else. You know, you hope you will learn that lesson. The thing is that, you know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting the same result.
You'd think so, but a number of people behind films that failed lashed out at the audience.
Right.
Oh,
You know?
yeah.
As long as they have that mindset, I mean, what can we do? The only thing we can do is try to be successful on our own. You know, it's one thing to criticize what somebody else is doing, but that's on them. You know, I really frankly don't care. You know, it's none of my business. If they don't succeed, then how does that affect me? You know, it really doesn't. You know, I should be looking at my own stuff and focusing on my own creations and focusing on my own success. You know, and that's the thing that I think a lot of creators need to be aware of, is that you have to invest in yourself. You know, and if you invest in yourself, you know, you don't have to go crawling to them; they'll come crawling to you.
Well, when you write a story, you write what you want to see, right? It's my wife Ann. Ann would like to say hello.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I write stuff that I enjoy, that I would enjoy reading. You know, hopefully that will translate to other people enjoy reading.
I think it's important. I think most successful writers write to please themselves, but they're aware that they also want to reach as large an audience as possible.
Sure.
So you write to please yourself and you write to please others.
Well, I try to, I understand that first and foremost, it's your audience that is the most important thing, you know, because they're the ones who are going to be paying the bills. They're the ones who's going to keep you, allowing you to keep producing, you know, entertainment. You know, if you don't please your audience, then what's the point of doing it? Okay, I mean, it makes no sense, you know, to me, in my mind, that why would you create something that nobody will like? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, yeah, I do know some brilliant writers whose books I treasure that never found a big audience and just struggled from book to book. And it's a matter of luck. I mean, they were writing books that were genre favorable, like thrillers. And two writers I could mention are Ron Faust and Chuck Logan, both of whom are brilliant thriller writers. But the books never caught on. Then I have a friend who writes Westerns, and he loves Westerns. And that's all he does is write Westerns every day. He's got 65 books in print. And he's the most popular writer of Westerns in the world right now. His name is Peter Brandvold. His books are great.
Wow.
But they're all Westerns. And Pete has been writing them for years, and he knows exactly what he's doing.
Well, there
was a huge audience for that. I mean, he zeroed in on a genre that has a lot of loyal fans. And the problem with the genres of the two writers I just mentioned, and myself too, because I'm doing the same thing, is that we're doing thrillers, which is one of the crowdest fields there is out there. Everybody wants to write a killer thriller.
Right.
What's that series? Well, take Jack Carr, who wrote the Terminal List, which was a series on Amazon recently, and I read that book. And Jack Carr just hit the bullseye with that. Well, one reason is he's ex-special forces himself, and everything he writes reeks of authenticity, and that's important. If you're going to be writing about armaments and tactics, you have to know what you're talking about, and the audience can sense that. And then I'm thinking about the Jack Reacher novels, which are also hugely powerful. And you say, well, what lifts these guys above the hundreds of other thriller writers that are out working out there? And well, they're all talented writers. So they know how to spin a yarn. And sometimes it's just luck. I mean, sometimes a producer will come in and say, I want to produce this, and it blows up.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the thing about it is that if you get good representation to go around and shop your idea around, then you never know. I mean, it's one of those things. People are always looking for good ideas. They're always looking for something new and different. Yeah, and I mean, if your writer, if your writer friends are making a living doing what they love, I mean, then that's great. That's what more can you ask for? The if they, even if they don't have the notoriety or the notoriety of a more famous writer like Stephen King or so. I mean, if they're making a good living, then you should be thankful for that. I mean, it would be great if you could go beyond, the beyond what you normally are expected. But sometimes, you have to be. Sometimes you can be satisfied with where you are now. Like, look, to be honest, I'm not a big name. I have my audience. I have people who like my stuff. And it's just enough people who like my stuff that keeps me in business. And I have to try every day to hold on to them to make them happy. And because if they don't, they're unhappy. They're going to leave, and then I'm going to lose my ability, to maintain a business and to maintain a living. So it's just one of those things. You just have to ask yourself, am I good enough to keep going? And if I am, am I producing enough to make a living off of it?
Did your sales pick up due to the TV show?
I don't know if they did or not. We don't do the Warrior Nun comic anymore, so
Oh,
we wouldn't know for sure. I know Avatar does the Warrior Nun comic, and I haven't seen anything new from them in a while.
do you have anything to do with that, or did they just buy the rights?
They bought the rights to the Warrior Nun Ariella comic book, and so they have the rights to do that.
Huh.
They're so slow too. They move slow. They move like a book publisher. That's another thing I was gonna say with the book publishers. It's like, man, you can have your novel done, and it takes like a year and a half for it to come out. With the bigger publishers, so that's got to be a challenge.
I'm with two smaller publishers, and they come out pretty fast.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I like I said, whatever their business model is, that's their business model. Excuse me. If it works for them, then fantastic. If it doesn't, well, I mean, what can I do about it? There's not much I can do about it.
Hey, Ben, regarding like your audience and things, I asked this because especially anybody that's had like a longer career and done a lot of different stuff, and I'm thinking especially of musical artists and just all kinds of things. They always struggle, especially if it's a band and you have an identity, and then you try to do something a little different with an album, and the fans kind of don't like them being that creative because they want that old sound. Is there like any is there anything that you had done or that you've wanted to do that hasn't been the most well received, or you figured out how to balance you being able to be creative and the fans kind of receptive to it?
Oh, well, gosh, that's a tough one. Well, I've done other types of books before. I mean, I've done, zombie books. I've done war books. I've done, superhero books. I've done all sorts of. I've run the gamut, but I always return back to manga because that's really my forte. And I very rarely actually hear feedback from my readers other than occasional. Back in the old days, people would write letters, to the comic book, and you would be able to gauge feedback right then. But nobody does that anymore, except maybe an occasional post on Facebook or Twitter or some such. The art of letter writing seems to be lost on this generation. If they don't like something, they'll just do a TikTok video or a YouTube thing. Oh, I hate this. This is garbage. This is crap. Don't read it. You know, and usually, it's very rare that you get somebody saying something positive. You know, because the people want to hear things that are negative for some reason. You know, but as far as my readership is concerned, the only measure I have is that they're continuing to buy my stuff.
Right.
And as long as they continue buying my my output, then that's a good sign that I'm doing something right. You know, if I'm doing something wrong, believe me, they'll let me know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what titles are you writing right now?
I'm not writing anything right now. The only thing I plot the Ninja High School stories,
Right.
and I hire a writer to do this finished scripts. You know, so but I do a lot of plotting. I love coming up with ideas. You know, I'm more of a plot man than I am I'm a writer. So, you know, I'm doing stuff for Tomorrow Girl. That's going to be a regular series. So I have a list of plot and story ideas. You know, and of course I'm still doing Ninja High School, which I hope to, you know, get to issue 200 by next year or so.
You're illustrating though.
Excuse me?
Yes. Are you illustrating the stories?
Yes, I'm drawing the story because, you know, artists are expensive.
Some are.
Yeah, well, if I can do it myself, I'll save myself a bundle of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can do it yourself, you should.
How much time do you spend like storyboarding and things like that, or doing the page layouts or whatever?
Once I get a script in, I'll read it and then I'll storyboard it. Usually it takes me about a day or two to storyboard an entire issue. And then I can do 1 or 2 pages a day if I really go at it.
Cool. Have you done any? I know you did back in the day because I had a few of them with the Mangazine and other stuff. But have you done any black and white manga recently?
Black and white manga? I haven't done anything recently. Most of the stuff I do now is in color.
Yeah.
But I mean, it would be very easy to do something in black and white. I mean, you know, it's basically just drawing a story and stop before you get it colored. But you know, I could do both. You know, it is definitely cheaper to go black and white as opposed to doing it in color.
Yeah.
I think there's a right way to do black and white comics. They can be just stunning. You look at the work of, especially I think the old undergrounds like Robert Crumb or Gilbert Shelton, and those pages are just fascinating. They're beautiful.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, I mean, like Jeff Smith and the Hernandez brothers. I mean, those are beautiful black and white artists. I mean, you look at any artist should be able to draw in black and white without any problem. I mean, Bernie Wrightson was a good black and white artist. I mean, a good artist should be able to draw in black and white without any problem.
I was just at an exhibit in Boston. They had there's a museum showing off the new underground, and they had tons of original art, including a lot of Hernandez brothers. And R. Crumb and Aline Kominsky. Aline Kominsky unfortunately died 2 weeks ago. May she rest in peace. It was a bit of a shock. But the undergrounds, they're not calling them undergrounds anymore. They're calling them alternatives, are alive and well. Geez, I brought the catalog home with me. It weighs about 20 pounds. I could run into the other room and get it, but I don't know what I'd show you. Charles Burns was another one of the artists.
Okay. Oops, sorry about the noise. I'm gonna have to cut this short a little bit. So,
Okay.
I appreciate you having me on, but I have some people I got to meet up right now.
No problem, Ben. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure and an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.